Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today, where we are going to be discussing how to build that foundational toolkit that every teacher needs to succeed in the online classroom, in the online situation. My name is Conchi, I'm with Genially, and this webinar is done in partnership with our friends from Quizlet, and we have a very special guest. His name is Darren Simons. He is an educator in the UK and a Quizlet champion. So I'm gonna welcome Darren and let him introduce himself a little bit. Welcome.
Hello, thank you very much for having me today for the webinar. So I'm a Quizlet champion and ambassador. I work in a further education college in England, so Suffolk New College, and I'm a teacher development coordinator and lecturer on our initial teacher training programme. So thanks for having me. We've been using Quizlet for a number of years now, so I'm going to sort of show you case how Quizlet can be used in the webinar today.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Darren. It's an honor to have you with us. Before we begin, I'm going to share my screen, but before I do that, I want to remind you that we have a chat and the Genially team is on the chat. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to drop them in the chat. They're going to be answered on the spot. And if you like this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, because we always have fresh new content and guests coming here. So hopefully you'll do that. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because we have a lot to cover today. And hopefully the session is going to be worthwhile for everybody. I'm going to make this full screen so that you can see it completely. And here we go. Simplifying, distance learning and bringing all your materials together with Genially and Quizlet, okay? Today, we're going to cover a few points. The first one, we're going to give you like an overview of the situation and how the move to blended and online teaching is happening. The new school year is looking different for sure. Some of us are 100% online, while some others are following hybrid models. But there's a digital transformation going on. It's happening real fast. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to go through the three major stumbling blocks that teachers are suffering during this super fast-paced change and digital transformation. And we will look at some solutions as well. And number three could be the foundational toolkit. We would, throw some questions to you. What do we really need to succeed in the online learning classroom? And how many tools do we really need? Because we know many teachers have been overwhelmed. So how many do we need and how can we simplify? And number four, we will talk about how Genially and Quizlet can be used in the classroom. How can they be used together? And this is the demo portion, okay? So Darren will share some of his tips on using Quizlet, and I will be creating a Genially from scratch, like step by step. So this is normally what you like best. And number five is the closing. We'll have some promo codes, some prices. So hopefully you'll stick around until the end. And now let's dive in. The move to blended and online teaching, and this change has been in the horizon for some time now. And the reasons why people were already switching to online learning before the pandemic were different, but there were many. Some of us are parents and we didn't have the time to leave the house and go to an in-person school. So we've been looking for online options. We also, there's also students hoping to pick up a foreign language that they couldn't find at their local school. So they've been looking for online options. And some students wanted to use technology simply out of excitement of having it, trying new things. And the list of reasons goes on, but the last few months have accelerated this move by, let's say, 1,000%. Now the transition towards the online learning is happening overnight, and educators are scrambling to learn how to use new tools and how to translate their essence, in the in-person classroom to the online world. So there's a lot happening and going on. We've been talking to a lot of teachers and a lot of educators, and there's some blocks that educators and teachers are finding, and these are the three that keep coming up in the conversations that we're having. The first one would be a lack of support from the school or from the district. You know, many teachers have been left on their own to figure out how to set up their online classes, how to get everything up and running. Those teachers who've been lucky enough to have a coworker, have consulted maybe with other educators, or have been doing some online research, but still there was a million tools and a lack of time and a lack of familiarity to get to know all of them. So most people have stuck with PowerPoint or Google Slides, just out of time, lack of time, And the third stumbling block would be unpredictability. The situation has been very unpredictable, and it continues to be very unpredictable. You know, the demands being made on teachers are changing overnight, and they need to be prepared for online, for in-person, for blended, for all sort of teaching styles. And now that we have identified the issues, this is where we bring some solutions for you. And this is the foundational toolkit that we think that ideally every teacher should have. When tackling something as big as switching to the online classroom, we suggest starting with a few tools, but that will cover most of your need in the classroom. Then once you have that foundation, you can build upon these tools and add new ones. But it's important to at least have this base really solid, okay? So the first thing that you normally need for your foundational teachers toolkit is an LMS system, a learning management system. If your whole school uses one already, you've got that covered, okay? You're all good to go. But sometimes schools don't provide any LMS to you. So there's some platforms, free options available that you can research and look online. I have listed here some of the most popular ones, even Teams, Google Classroom. There's a lot of options. And it all comes down to, to which one is gonna cover your needs, okay? But there's plenty of options for everybody. Once you know how you are going to organize your classroom, it's time to think how are you going to connect with your students and how are you going to see their faces. You're gonna do your social emotional learning, and it's good to see their faces for that. So there's a lot of video software options out there. These are two of the ones we can recommend or that we know that work nicely. So, again, you can do a little bit of research and see what works for you. And now that we have our LMS, our organization, we know how are we gonna see our students, it's time to create the materials for the classroom that we are going to present to our students. And in this case, what we recommend is Genially, of course. For those of you who are not familiar with Genially, Genially is an all-in-one tool for creating interactive and animated presentations and materials for the classroom. We talk about presentations, but you can do games, you can do escape rooms, infographics, posters, interactive images. There's really, it's a very flexible and versatile tool, so you can do really anything you set your mind to, okay? And it comes with hundreds of templates available. It's very easy to get started, okay? Whether you decide to go with Genially or with another content creation tool, what we recommend for sure is that you find one that can integrate seamlessly external content from other sources, okay? So for example, if you wanna show like a YouTube video in the classroom, in the case of Genially, you're able to embed that type of content within your creations, okay? So this type of seamless experience is important when it comes to creating materials for the classroom, okay? And now we come to number 4, and we're gonna see how, once you have the materials for the classroom, how you can enhance your lessons. And in this case, I'm gonna let Darren continue from here because he's going to show us how he's using Quizlet.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll go through kind of how Quizlet works. What I'm going to do is just share my screen, and then I can go through a quick demo of how to get started if you've never used Quizlet before, and then maybe some sort of more advanced elements of Quizlet that you might want to be using. So in here, this is the first page that I've logged into, and this is my home page on Quizlet. And the things we can start off with is we can either search to see already made Quizlet sets which are available, or we can create our own one from scratch. So we've got two options up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to search for one that's already out there. So let's say we're going to be doing a tool on the solar system, for instance. Let's just have a quick look. Solar system, give a quick search onto those. And this is going to bring up all sets that have been created on Quizlet around the solar system. We've got a few options down on the left-hand side here. So I can see different types of ways that these have been created. And I want to see something that's been created by another teacher. So we know this is another teacher that's been delivering this in their classroom. So we know it's been created by a teacher to work with students. And I've got a number of things here that have been created by teachers. So I'm just going to pick one of these. Let's go for this one here. I'm going to click on this set, so the solar system, and it's brought up a range of flashcards, and I can check to see what's in this flashcard. So if I scroll down here, I can see all the different terms that are inside this particular set. So there's 27 different terms. So we have a term and then a definition that goes alongside it. And you can think about those as just kind of that general flashcard where you'd have that term and then you'd have a definition to describe that particular term. Or you could also think about those as questions and answers. And you can basically use the same format. I'll show you how you can then use that when you're studying this material later on. So I've got 27 different things, and I can go through here and check these that I'm happy with everything in here. And you'll notice you've got an option to have a picture that goes with the definition as well. Let's say I want to add something onto this one. So I'm happy with this set, but I want to customize it and I want to use it for my own class. I'm going to go back up to the top here, and I've got this option here. It looks like a kind of copy element, and it says customize. I'm going to click on customize. What that's going to do is going to take that set and save it in my own area. So it's my version of this original teacher's Quizlet set. I'm going to scroll down. I've got some options now that I can edit and change any of these. So let's just go right down to the bottom, and let's go and add a new term. Here we go. So I've got this option down here to add a new card. So effectively a new flashcard onto this set. And let's go for a generic term. Let's just go for the solar system as my starting point. And as I type in here, it should then come up with the language and some definitions that I then might have. So it's picked the solar system, and then it's coming up with a range of definitions that I might want to choose. And actually, I could kind of read some of these and think, actually, that's a pretty good definition. That's the one that I would want to use. I can just select one of those, and it's already created that option for me. So as soon as you start typing elements into Quizlet, it tries to pre-populate those and saves you a bit of time when you're creating your own version of your flashcards. I do have the other option down here where I could add an image. So if I click on image, it's then going to search for images that are available in here, or I do have an option to upload my own image that I really like. So let's say I want to pick this image here. That's going to add that image into this particular flashcard. I have another option here of actually changing the language. So let's just delete this definition for a moment. And I've got it set as English at the moment. But if I select my language feature, I've got a range of different languages that I can select. So if I want to select Spanish, and as I go to the definition, you'll then see it's then given me translations in Spanish for the solar system. And also you've noticed here, I've got some additional features here where I've got on my English keyboard, I wouldn't naturally have these within my English keyboard. And the students would also have these options. So they have those additional characters, those special characters that they may not necessarily see in their own language keyboard, but they'll have access to those when they're using Quizlet. I'm just going to change this back to English because it's going to then sort of confuse what's going on with this particular set. But you'll also notice down here with some other languages, we've got chemistry symbols. And if I search for a language, let's say maths, mathematical symbols, it will then give me an option here as I click on here, a range of mathematical symbols that, again, are not easy to find on a keyboard. Like you can find them if you teach your students those, but it gives you a whole range of different symbols that you could use when the students are using Quizlet. Let's set this again just to English, and I'm just going to select one of these definitions on here. Okay, now I'm happy with my new set that I've done, and I'm going to click the Create button. And this is now going to give me my set that I can now send to my students to help them to study that particular set. And it's given me a range of options to begin with. So I could email that to them, I could copy that link, or I've got a range of different sharing platforms that I could use, or I could add it onto a class or a folder within Quizlet if I wanted to. I'm just going to close that down for a second. And I'm going to go through the different ways that you can actually study this particular set for a student. So I have the traditional form of a flashcard. So I'd have solar system. If I click on the card, it will then bring up the definition for that card. And I could learn those and try to memorize those options. But actually, I'd recommend if you're learning a brand new topic that you've never done before, one of the best options down here on the left-hand side here is to use Learn. So this is part of our study features within Quizlet. When I click Learn, what it's going to do, it's going to give me all of those data sets. And initially in phase 1, it's going to ask me some multiple choice questions. So it's given me an option here. I'm just going to pick one of these. Let's pick Pluto. It's saying that it's got the right answer. Now I know this third planet is going to be the Earth. Let's select the wrong answer in this case, and let's select Venus. And it's going to tell me that what the right answer was, and then what I said. So if I wanted to check any of these as well and kind of listen to those, I have the option here with the speaker where I can get it to read out and it can speak to me as well. So what Learn does, once you've gone through the familiar stage, it will then ask you literally an open text box where you've then got to type in the right answer during the sort of know it really well phase. So it starts off easy, but then gets more difficult for the student to try and get them to remember that information. Another great tool here is the spell function. So if I click on spell, what this does, it reads out a spelling for a student, and they would then be able to hear that spelling and then would be able to type that spelling in. So if I typed in, I'm just going to type in Venus and just click enter. That's giving me the right answer. This one's just telling me moon. So let's just spell moon wrong. I'm just going to put 1 O in it, press enter. It's going to tell me it's incorrect, and then it's going to give me a suggestion of what the right answer was. So then I get another chance to potentially type that in and give the right spelling before it then move on to the right spelling and give me another question. You notice down the side here, I've got 7 questions in this round, and it just randomly generates 7 questions from all those 27 flashcards that we had available for the student. Okay, let's go back and let's have a look at another option here. And you'll notice already it's tracking my progress. Because I've got an account on Quizlet, it will track my progress and says that I've done 2% finished of spell. If a student doesn't have their own account, they can still learn and do all the things within Quizlet without their own account. But if they do have their own account, they'll be able to track their own progress using Quizlet. Let's have a look at test. Now, test will generate a random test for me to then use. So this has given me 5 written questions where I need to type in the answer. It's then given me 5 matching questions where I've got to try and match it to the right definition. I then have 5 multiple choice questions. And then finally, I then have 5 true and false questions. And all of these questions have just been generated by having those simple flashcards. So those terms and definitions, and it's generating those particular answers. If I wanted to change any options, I can go down to the options on the left-hand side, and I can change the type of questions that we're asking. So if I only wanted to have, say, written questions, I could just leave written questions in here. And again, I can change my question limit. So rather than asking 20, I say I want to have 10 written questions, hit create new test, and therefore it's now given me 10 written questions that I can use with my students, and they can obviously then practice that particular test on the solar system. There's also some games that you can play with your students. So one is Match. Match is a nice game where you get all terms and definitions spread out across your screen, and you've then got to try and match them in the quickest time possible. So it's just telling me that I've got to drag them and make them all disappear. So let's click Start Game, and you'll notice I've then got to try and find the right answer. And if it's the wrong one, it sort of chucks it away for me, and I've got to try and get the right answer. Once I do, it disappears. You'll notice on the left-hand side, I've got a timer going. What that does, it kind of measures who has the fastest time within a particular class. And basically, the person with the shortest time to do the match activity wins that particular activity, and they'll be top of their class. Another option down here, and I think this is quite good with the solar system, is gravity. So gravity is where you've got to try and save planets from different asteroids. So if I click on start here, it's going to give me a few options about what I want to use as my terms. I'm going to answer with my term. So type in my term and I'm going to see a definition. I can change the difficulty level as well and then go, let's go. It's going to start the game and you'll then see these asteroids dropping down with a particular definition. And then I need to obviously type in the right answer for it to then disappear. And that will then explode and move on. The person who has the fastest, the highest score will be the top of the leaderboard at the end as well. And finally, we've got a classroom game, which students can play either in groups or individually. And that's our live, so Quizlet Live. What this does, it kind of has a tool where all students would have on their own device, they would have a series of answers, and they've got to make sure they get the right answer. And on the screen, so either on the live screen that you're using as part of your live session, the teacher will have this screen here, which then shows how the students are progressing with this particular Quizlet Live. All the students are given an animal name, so it's not their own name, which is on the board. So no one's quite sure who they actually are, apart from obviously the team that's performing it and doing the quiz. The main problem is with Quizlet Live is if you get a question wrong, then you go right back to 0. And then you'll see the students kind of get really disappointed as they've kind of got that wrong answer and they'll go right back to 0. If you're playing in teams, what will happen on each device, you'll get a different set of answers on each device and the students have to work together to make sure they get the right answer and not pressing the wrong answer on their device. They might not have it, it might be on their peer's device, for instance. So that's how you can use Quizlet and the different options that you have within Quizlet. And all of these options you can embed within Genially. You do have some other options here as well. So once you then want to share it with your students, you can click on share and that will give you back those options that you originally said when I created those options. But I'm going to pass you back now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to see how we can actually embed Quizlet within Genially and use those.
Thank you so much, Darren. That was so cool to see. Thank you for giving us that tour. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and we're gonna see how we embed a Quizlet on a Genially in a minute. So, okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, so I think. Yes, I'm ready. I'm also ready to do the demo portion of Genially. And this is what we're going to do today, okay? So I'm going to show you the final product and I'm going to build it. We're going to build it from scratch together. So, you know, you can later rewatch this video if you want to do it step by step. This is kind of what we're going to create. We're going to continue with the universe or planets theme. And this is what we're going to create. And in order to do that, we're going to head over to Genially. And normally, you know, when you register on Genially, it's free to register. And this is what you're going to see. You would normally hit Create a Genially. And these are the categories where you get to pick from, okay? And they're all loaded with different templates. You know, there's a lot of options and you're welcome to explore. For today's demo purpose, we're gonna look into the horizontal infographics. And this is, you could type here the terms of what you're looking for, but I'm just gonna scroll down just to give you an idea of the amount of templates that you can find within Genially, okay? And I'm gonna look for the planets one, which is a new one. It's very cool, very fun. Here we go. Okay, so here it is. And before we decide to use the template, you're able to preview it, you see, and you're able to see what are the interactivities that the template comes with by default. So you're able to see and explore the template a little bit. And once you're ready, you can hit Use this template. And it's going to open up in your dashboard, in your editor, okay? And it's loading right now. Okay, and here we go. The first thing that I'm going to do is to name it. So I'm gonna name it and we're gonna explore, I'm gonna name it Genially in the classroom, because we're going to explore everything that you can do with Genially in the classroom, okay, for how Genially can help you in the online learning situation. So, and you see, to edit the text, you just need to click and type on top, okay? So it's really a whole universe of possibilities for the classroom. That's what Genially does. Give you a million of possibilities, a whole universe. I don't need the social media icons right now, so I'm just gonna delete this. And normally this template only comes with only one slide, but normally if the template comes with more than one slide, you're gonna see them here. You see I'm on pages here, and you're gonna see them in here, and you can move them around, delete the ones that you don't need. So, you know, those are things you can do. And I'm gonna start going through the possibilities that Genially gives you in the classroom. Of course, one of the first things you're gonna want to do as an educator is to explain. So we're gonna do explain here. And to explain, normally we use a whiteboard, okay, or a blackboard. So I'm gonna show you how to create a whiteboard with Genially, okay? So I'm gonna add a page. It's super easy. You click add a page, and you can either select a page from another template or another presentation that you've done. But in this case, I'm gonna just pick like a blank page, and I'm gonna add this, okay? Once it's here, I'm gonna leave it blank, but you could come here to background and change the color, okay? Change the color or pick any background from our library. But as I said, I'm just gonna leave it white. And I'm gonna head over to settings, and I'm gonna go to the display options, and I'm gonna hit paint on the Genially, okay? So that's going to activate the option to paint on the Genially. And to let people or students know that you can do that now, I'm gonna come over to text, and there's a lot of options again here. I'm just gonna use a regular text, and I'm gonna say, I'm a whiteboard. Use this pen to write on me, okay? And I'm gonna put this on top, and these are your editing options for the text. So it's gonna make it a bit bigger. Fantastic. And I'm going to add a little arrow as well. So I come here to resources, and I look for the lines and arrows, and I'm just gonna use a normal arrow, okay? And I'm going to okay, and I'm going to make it black as well to match the rest. And so that students can know how to head back to the original slide with the planets, I'm also going to add a button. So I come here to interactive elements, and I choose one of the buttons, the interactive buttons. So I'm just gonna do a return button, okay? And you have to tell the button what to do, okay, and where to go. So we're gonna do that using this little hand. This is where you apply interactivities in Genially. And I'm gonna, select a type of interactivity you see, and I'm gonna tell him to go to page. And I'm gonna tell it to go to the first page, okay? Great, so that's done. And now I'm gonna do something else that you're not gonna see until the end, okay? But I'm gonna lock all the contents in here, okay? But you're gonna see it's a very cool thing that we're gonna do at the end, okay? Okay, so I head back to my first slide. I'm also going to tell number 1 to go to the whiteboard, okay? So again, I click the button and I head to the apply interactivity. And this template brings some content by default. When that happens and a template brings content by default, you just delete whatever is in there, okay? And you can tell it to go to page. And in this case, we're gonna tell it to go to the first page, okay? Save. Fantastic. The second thing we can do with Genially in the classroom, and that is important for the online learning situation, is to connect. It's important that we connect with our students. You know, if you can do it in video, that's great, but you can also use audio. And with Genially, you can record your own audios within the materials, within the presentations that you're sharing with your students. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well, okay? So you click the button that we're going to use. We go to the interactivity, and again, this template brings a lot of information by default, so I'm going to delete this. Okay, and I'm going to go to insert here, okay? And there's an audio option, okay? And you could use audio from your computer if you have a song or if you have a recording, but you can also record it on the spot, okay? So I'm gonna do that, okay? Click here. You can use this functionality to record audio for your students. And I click stop. And you see the audio is loading here, okay? And you have a lot of options to edit and to trim your audio, but I'm just gonna leave it as it is. And I'm gonna bring it over here, and I want to hide it because it's just too much. You know, you can see it too much. So there's a transparency option, and you can make it lighter so that it hides with the slide. And what I'm going to do, I'm gonna make the little play button, I'm gonna make it coincide with the plus here. And then I'm gonna go 0% so that it hides completely, okay? Voila, okay? You cannot see the audio, but it's there, and you're gonna see at the end, okay? The following option, the following thing that you can do with Genially in the classroom is to motivate. You can motivate your students. Motivate. And, you know, there's very few things that motivate more in the classroom than a game. So I'm gonna include a game on this part. And with Genially, you can create a lot of games. So I'm gonna show you where you can find your games in Genially, okay? So you have a gamification category and a learning experience. The one that I'm going to show is in learning experience in challenges, okay? So, you know, you can create any type of games. Let's say you have it ready already. Okay. Oh, here we go. So I'm gonna use this little game. It's a flags game. So I'm just gonna copy the code for the purpose of the demo, okay? And I'm gonna bring the game in here, okay? And then I'm gonna select type of interactivity window, and I'm gonna select the code view option in here, and I'm just gonna paste it, okay? I'm gonna click save, and the game is there, you know, everything within one slide. Number 4, we're gonna say discover. How you can discover. It is important to let a student work independently too, and let them discover and do some research by themselves. So we recommend the Genially Academy. The Genially Academy is a new platform we recently launched, where there's a lot of free, it's completely free, and there's courses you can do on Genially and in other matters as well. So you could learn about design, you can learn about training. So a lot of options in there. So I'm gonna include the link in here. I'm gonna delete the content that comes by default, and I'm gonna do window, and I'm just gonna paste the URL here, okay? You see, it automatically renders on the window, okay? And I click save. Okay, discover, and then number 5 is gonna be integration. I said it is important that we pick a solution that allows you to integrate external content and applications. And in this case, I've been paying attention to Darren's presentation. I'm going to delete this content by default. And I've created a Quizlet, okay, with the instruction that Darren gave earlier, and I have it ready here. And I have the code ready that I'm going to embed on my Genially, okay? So again, I come to the bottom, click window, I come to the code view, paste my code and click save, okay? And number 6, and we're gonna see the results in a minute, and number 6, I'm gonna do share because that's what I'm going to do with you all. I'm gonna share this presentation and I don't need this button. We've done enough buttons for today. Okay, and that's it. I'm going one more thing. Remember I used the locked to lock the whiteboard before. So now I'm gonna select in display, I'm gonna go do the drag elements option, okay? And I'm going to lock this as well, okay? Here's the lock, and I'm going to unlock this guy here. You're gonna see why, okay? And I think we should be ready to go. Let's see what happens, okay? I'm gonna make my Genially reusable, so you know, you guys can use it later. All set. And I'm also gonna tell my friends from Genially to drop the link in the chat, okay, for the Genially, so that you can see it right from your computers as well. So here we go, this is what we did. You remember we locked everything and we left this little spaceship, so you can use the spaceship to move it around and kind of focus the attention of the students whatever you want. So first we did the explain, and we created the whiteboard that you can use to write, okay? All right, and we did a button with return, okay? So that button takes me back to the presentation. In Connect, we recorded, I recorded my voice, so let's see if you can hear it, okay? Because I'm wearing my headphones. You can use this functionality to record audio for your students. I don't know if you got to hear it, but as I said, my colleagues are gonna drop the link to this creation on the chat. You can listen to it later if you would like. So that's how the audio works, you know, we're hearing the audio. Number 3, motivate, and this is where we did the game. And you can play the game within your Genially without leaving your materials, without leaving your classroom materials. So here you go, you can play a game right here. And then we did discover, and we gave students some time for independent learning, and we're letting them explore the Genially Academy with all the free courses. So, you know, we did that. And then we did integration, and this is where we brought our Quizlet here. So we did a little Quizlet about the important elements of Genially, you know, create communication experiences where exploration is the protagonist, add layers of information, and create unique content. So if you flip it, that's interactivity, okay? So you could keep going, you know, through all the different ingredients that make Genially so special, you know, and use Quizlet to learn those. And then that's the share option that I, you know, that I'm sharing with you all. I'm showing this presentation, okay? So I really hope you enjoyed seeing this. I'm gonna head back to the presentation now. Okay. And I hope the team got to answer all of your questions. We're gonna be selecting a few winners from the people who sign up for the webinar, and we will email you with the winners. And we also have a little discount code, so you know, if you like Genially a lot, you're able to get a little discounts on your edu Pro plan. Okay, and now I don't know if there's any questions left. I think there's a question. There was a question for Darren earlier. I'm gonna read it to you, Darren. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking if you could increase the complexity of the learning outcomes by having more than one correct answer with your Quizlet, or potentially put all the answers wrong, like saying all wrong answers.
Yeah, so there's a new feature that's just been added onto Quizlet. It's a beta right now, but you can try it out. So I can share my screen and just show you where that is, if that's probably the easiest way to do that. So let me just go back to my screen, and I'm just going to click back onto the solar system one. I'm just click share onto those. So you may have noticed it when I was doing the demonstration. I'm just going to go to edit this solar system one that we created. And I'm just going to click on one of the definitions at the top here. And you'll notice here, you've now got add multiple choice options. And like I said, it is in beta, so we're still developing it at Quizlet at the moment. But if I click on multiple choice options, it then gives you some chance to actually create those multiple choice options yourself. So if you want to make it harder, then you can add those elements into those. You can remove some options as well, so you don't have to have 3 options. But that's where we're sort of developing the idea at the moment. So there's those elements coming into it. Certainly if I just go back to done on here, the different structures. So like I said, with Learn, it does get harder because initially it's multiple choice, and then it's the student has got to type in the right answer themselves. So they've got to try and think of the answer and obviously spell that correctly if you want to make sure they get the spelling right. One thing I didn't show just while I'm on here is how to actually get that code that you put into the Genially. So to do that, if I wanted to get this solar system one, I'd go down to these 3 dots, and I've got some more options here. And one of them is for embed. So I'm just going to click on embed, and you'll then see the code under here. So I could then copy the HTML. And this gives me the options about what I want to embed. So I've got the option to use match, learn, test, flashcards, and spell. So they are the 5 options I can use to embed within Genially. So that's how you get hold of those. So basically, if I wanted to have learn in, I could click learn, copy that HTML, and then paste that into my Genially, and that would then appear onto those. Great, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay.
Thank you so much. So I think we're done. If there's any questions left, you can use the hashtag #AskGenially, okay, to ask any questions on social media for us. And I think we're done. Okay, thank you so much for everybody that made it today, and especially thank you to Darren for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, and you can rewatch this webinar anytime on the YouTube channel. Okay, so don't worry if you came late or or missed a little bit. Okay, thank you so much.